You're not wrong. The only counter argument to that, and of course it's the lawyer in me to give you the counter, but the counter argument to that is these are not sequestered jurors.
True.
They should have been sequestered because, in my opinion, these jurors are handling something that is completely unprecedented and unwarranted in America. And for them to be able to be out and about on a holiday weekend with friends and families who have opinions, who are watching the news, TV's on the background at the pool party, I have serious concerns. If they're left-winging and they're watching MSDNC, as my client calls it, or CNN, they're not going to get fair news. They're going to hear, but by the way, they have been saying that this case is a hoax, which is shocking. But they know that the jurors are out there listening, and I have concerns about that. Time can be on your side. Sometimes you're right there. But in this instance, I have worries about them going back to whatever friends might have Trump derangement syndrome, forgetting all sense of reality, and coming back and sitting in that box and saying, you know what, I've got to take one for the DNC. I don't want that. I want law to fact, because if we can get that, we will win. We will not just get a hung jury, we will get an acquittal. So let's see.
So Michael Popok, Legal AF. You heard it from Alina Habba. It's Trump derangement syndrome season, and it kicks in right around Memorial Day weekend in New York. You thought it was just hay fever. It's not. It's Trump derangement syndrome. I almost can't do this hot take with a straight face. I'm going to try. I'm going to bite my tongue. I'm going to stab my thigh with a pen to try to get through it. So let me just walk you through Alina Habba's theory here. Alina Habba's theory here is that a jury who has listened to 20 witnesses, about 5 weeks of trial days and testimony, should suddenly be sequestered, meaning put it up in a hotel like on television and cut off from the outside world, even though they haven't been sequestered at any time during the trial. They're an anonymous jury, so unless they've told their friends and family and others that they are on the jury, people don't know. We have no information about them other than their demographics and gender and some answers to some questions. That this jury that has been doing its civic duty day after day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday in a New York criminal courthouse, suddenly should be sequestered, because if not, they will come down with dengue fever, with Trump derangement syndrome. They'll suddenly take marching orders from the Democratic National Committee. Can I put this in perspective for a minute? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Alina Habba and her, how do I put this, litigation chops. And chops is doing a heavy lift in that sentence. Alina Habba has not won a substantive case of any value or any size, probably in her entire career. She was a parking garage lawyer. No, she didn't park cars, but she represented companies that owned parking garages before she bumped into, on purpose, Donald Trump at his Bedminster golf course near where her little office was and her little law firm was, and convinced him that he should hire her to handle some of his sex harassment type cases. And she handled one sort of successfully, but without a trial, in a settlement posture, and ever since then, it's been a loss after loss after loss for Alina Habba representing Donald Trump. I mean, I can't tell you how many, and her getting caught up in Mar-a-Lago. She was the lead trial counsel in the E. Jean Carroll cases. $5 million loss, $83.5 million loss. Lead trial counsel, along with others, in the New York Attorney General case, $465 million loss running with interest. She got Donald Trump and herself sanctioned by Judge Middlebrooks in the Southern District of Florida in a case that Trump brought as plaintiff against the Democratic National Committee, where the judge found that it was just, talk about lawfare, it was just a weaponized political screed masquerading as a lawsuit that had no merit whatsoever, was filed in bad faith, and they got fined over $1 million. Same Alina Habba. Same Alina Habba, who, because they weren't producing documents properly in the New York Attorney General civil fraud case, she had to go to Mar-a-Lago right at the moment, right before the execution of the search warrant in Mar-a-Lago in August of 2022, where she was going through the drawers, and I had to have seen classified information in those drawers because she volunteered to go search her client's desk drawers in Mar-a-Lago personally, herself. So when you hear Alina Habba and you understand that she's lost every appeal for Donald Trump, she's gotten abused and ridiculed by appellate judges time and time again for every argument that she's ever raised about immunity, about executive power and executive privilege to try to prevent some of these E. Jean Carroll cases. There's a reason that even Donald Trump didn't want her arguing in front of the United States Supreme Court. She's that bad. But she's great on TV, apparently, and Donald Trump likes his people that defend him to look a certain way, and she apparently fits the bill for what he wants these people to look like. And because there's no pushback on a Fox show, there's no lawyer on the other side, there's nobody that knows what they're talking about on the other side, she gets to get away with all this ridiculousness. New York law, and I'll tell you from a New York lawyer perspective, allows sequestration in only the most rarest of circumstances. And this is not one of them. And if they wanted the jury sequestered, they needed to have asked for it before the trial ever began. And then if they lost that issue, take it up on appeal. But they never asked for sequestration. They never asked to have the jury. Because, by the way, that is a terrible, usually terrible mental state to put the jury in. I've been a jury specialist and a trial lawyer, litigator specialist for a long, long time. You want to put them in a bad mood? You want them not to like the defendant? Have them be sequestered, separated from their families for 5 weeks. 6 weeks, living in some flea bag hotel in New York, cut off from social media. It doesn't happen. It happens, Alina, on television. It happens in movies. It's 12 Angry Men. We don't do that anymore, only in the most rarest of circumstances when the jury's life is in danger. We're talking about organized crime, and the other side asked for it. Alina Habba has a habit of forgetting to ask for certain things. Donald Trump talks about, I didn't get a jury trial in the Attorney General case in the $465 million judgment against me. It shouldn't have been Judge Engoron. It should have been a jury trial. No, it shouldn't have, under the way the statutes are written in New York. Those types of equitable fraud counts are adjudicated by a judge, not by a jury. And if you wanted a jury, you wanted to try for it, you needed to ask for it at the beginning and check the appropriate box when the case was started and then litigate it through the appellate court. But Alina Habba never did that. So she waived any continued argument, and so did Donald Trump, that he had the right to a jury trial in the fraud case. Again, she screwed up. She screwed up in the E. Jean Carroll case. She failed to assert the defense of immunity and executive privilege or any of that at the time that case got off the ground. And that's why the appellate court, the Second Circuit Federal Court of Appeals in New York, laughed at her and said, didn't you need to raise that 3 years ago? So Alina Habba, because she doesn't know how to practice law, frankly, she likes to tell people who can't challenge her, who know less than even she does, we should have had this sequestered over the weekend. That is not a thing. It almost never happens. It's terrible for the defense, and meaning Donald Trump's side. It'll just piss the jury off, and you would have had to have asked for that at the beginning. Newsflash, we don't sequester juries at the last minute because there's a Memorial Day weekend and you're worried about, I don't know what, they're watching television? They're being with their families? You should hope they come back, Alina Habba, refreshed, clear-minded, clear-eyed, and ready to listen, right, fair and impartially to your side's summation, which goes first, and the prosecution's summation that goes second. That'll happen on Tuesday. That's what you should hope for, not sequestration. And of course, nobody on Fox can push back on that, but I want you to understand the source. Alina Habba, I'm sorry, I'll tell it straight from a New York bar member, she's not competent in these matters. That's why you don't see her in major criminal matters where liberty of Donald Trump, her client, is at risk, or in Supreme Court matters. It's not because she's busy. She's busy leading an Instagram life along with Ivanka and showing up at 40-year-old birthday parties and taking everybody to Europe or to France or Cannes or wherever she took them, sure. And then Mar-a-Lago for a happy birthday wish. Yeah, that's what she does. But she's not qualified to do what we do on Legal AF every week, which is to analyze the law at the intersection of law and politics. I'm Michael Popok. I do it right here exclusively for you. Memorial Day weekend, I didn't have Trump derangement syndrome coming in, and I don't have it going out. I call it balls and strikes without blowing smoke or sunshine. I appreciate you being here. If you like what I'm doing, leave me a thumbs up and a comment, and we'll open a dialogue. And then you can follow me on Legal AF, the leading podcast at the intersection of law and politics. One place, the MeidasTouch Network, exclusively there. This is a network we're building together with our bare hands. Join us on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on this YouTube if you want to watch the video version of the podcast, or on audio versions wherever you get your audio podcast from. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Real quick, Meta just changed their algorithm to suppress political content. Please follow our Instagram at MeidasTouch right now as we head towards 400,000 followers so you don't miss a beat.